Exploring Ominous Feelings with Edward Riordan, Part 2. Welcome to the Future Forecast Podcast. Dennis Nappi II here. I'm joined again with my good friend, Edward Riordan. Edward, I'm excited to continue our discussion. We just finished talking about your ominous feeling and the thread through COVID and your predictions. And we had a great conversation about learning to channel your fear and develop that discipline. But it's good to see you again. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Thanks, man. Good to be on the show. And yeah, great conversations as usual.
It always is. I'm so thankful for our history, and we're actually gonna go back today and kind of recap and then see where it leads us down the rabbit hole with, I think, the target that really brought you and I together, and that was your. Can we say it on the air? Or is that going to get us flagged by the algorithms?
And might get us flagged. It's getting me in trouble on YouTube. I'll tell you that much.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to give this caveat. You're not going to get the story with the
Here, I did
word I'm
this for
about
the
to say.
I did this for
Okay.
the video.
Okay.
Wait,
Pull it
can
back.
you see it? Ah,
Nope, it's blurry.
hang on. There. Can you see it?
You can
Ah, I
kind of
don't know
see it
why it's
blurry.
so
Maybe that's
blurry.
a good thing. Maybe the algorithms
Yeah,
will pick it
maybe.
here. I'll do it here. Nope. AI's fighting us
There you
already.
go.
Look, I'm holding it
There you go.
sideways. There you go. You can see the letter. It's a
That's
letter
it.
in the alphabet that comes after the letter P in the alphabet.
Yeah,
Let's
there you
do it
go.
that way. Okay. Um, there's a lot of conspiracy threads about that organization out there. And what Edward and I are going to talk about is not that. It's not that at all. He was tasked to remote view what is that, and he brought back data that reads like a science fiction novel. It's a fascinating story, and I saw him talking about that, and I didn't know him. I said, I got to talk to this guy because this resonates with all the things that I was having in my head trying to process. And here he is collecting data on it. And that's how we connected. And he told this fascinating story. You want to just give a recap
Yeah.
of the letter? We'll call it the letter after P session that you did.
Yeah, that was a target set up for me by Dustin Newcomb. And Dustin is a good friend of mine. And he selects what I call my vacation targets, you know.
Yeah.
And what I love most about him is like I could never guess what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Never, ever. So
Can you
it's not
give just a
all.
list of some of the random,
Oh
because we
yeah.
talked about a lot of them.
Oh
Let's
oh man. Um, he gave me a target that Pando,
That's the one I was thinking of.
the
Yep.
tree.
Yeah.
He gave me a target that was a pitcher for Major League Baseball who in 1972 pitched a perfect game while he was on LSD.
Oh, wow. I
That
didn't know about
that
that
was the
one.
target. That was the
Yeah.
target. He what else? The Mary Magdalene one.
Uh-huh. The manas we did. We talked
The
about, I
the,
mean.
the, the Vimanas,
Yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe. I mean,
Yeah.
I can never guess what it's going to be. He has a wide range, so it's
Oh
not
yeah, Earth's
all
core. Remember you did Earth's
Earth's
core. You did
core,
Pi. Pi was very. I
pi.
feel like I can go through your
Yeah,
highlight reel here. I'm so
yeah,
excited for all your
yeah,
work here. Pi was a
yeah.
lot of fun too.
There's never any one thing or a theme.
Right.
That's why I like his target because I can never
Yeah.
guess that
Yeah.
Empress Elizabeth or whoever the hell she
Yeah.
was another one. People that I'd never heard of. Um, so I really love those. So when he set that up for me, the letter thing, of course, completely blind to the target,
Yeah.
and he wanted to know what was behind this.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't. He didn't set it up like tell me what the drops are, or whatever. It was
Yeah.
what is behind this.
Right.
And so I go through all these sessions, and it was kind of like the ominous feeling thing. It was just like
Yeah.
pour and pour and pour.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how many sessions I had, 8 sessions or whatever I did for that project. And I had to go to Houston and one for something I was doing out there. He lives in Houston, so I go and I stayed at his house, and he gave me the target reveal. at his house in his kitchen. He says,
Yeah.
"Okay, you ready? You ready for the reveal?" I said, "Yeah, man." So he gives me an envelope, and I open it up, and it's that, and I'm just like, I really didn't know even what that was,
Right.
because it
Right.
just wasn't a thing I was paying any attention to.
No, it was goofy conspiracy babble.
Yeah, it was just like something that I wasn't had and no interest in
Right.
to even follow along with.
Right.
And so I did not understand. I literally was standing in his kitchen going, I don't understand. I don't even understand what the target is.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, what is this, man? I was dumbfounded,
Right.
you know, and it took days,
Yeah.
maybe even weeks, for me to wrap my head around it. And once I started to wrap my head around it, and then that big picture that came through in all those
Yep.
sessions was what started to really hit me. Like, it isn't this that thing with the drops and the
Yeah.
people, and it's this guy who's doing it, or that guy's in the cabinet and he's getting this
Yeah.
information. It's like, no, 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 man.
It's far
It's
bigger.
the big thing,
Like the big agenda.
the big
Yeah.
um, that is controlling that thing.
Yeah.
And um, when he puts a target together for me, he has all these, he calls tangential
Uh-huh.
aspects, a
Right.
word that I never use. So it's hard for me to remember the word. I never use
Right.
that word. I think I even had to go look it up. I was like, I don't know, what does that even
It's,
mean?
it's a geometry term. Comes off of
And
tangent. Yeah.
so he would have all these like sub cues,
Right.
you know, which I really like. I like that.
Yeah.
Some viewers don't like that. They're like, just give me the one thing. And I'm like,
Right.
no, man, I like those tangentials,
Yeah.
because now I can go everywhere I want to go.
Right.
And so, uh, yeah, anyway, so yeah, the whole thing started to hit me, what this was. And I talked to him, he and I talked about it, and I was like, dude, I don't know if I can put this out.
Right.
This might be dangerous to put out,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know if I want to take that chance. But then I started looking around, and it was like there was a bunch of people had all kinds of stuff out about it, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, big deal if I put something out. There's like there's thousands of people putting out stuff on it already.
Right.
So I contacted him. I said, I think we should put it out. He said, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
more than happy to not put it out. Be
Right.
like, "Dude, this is between us." Um, but it was just like, this is some important stuff, and I this may need to go out. This may need to get out there, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and then going through the process of finding all these weird anomalies that came through in that, you know, like the Ifinity thing,
Hmm.
things
Well,
that were happening.
can we just take a step back for people that aren't familiar with really what you brought back? It was a sub society, a breakaway, a bit like a breakaway civilization, correct? That was
Yeah,
doing some advanced work involving, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since I've gone through this, but some advanced work with AI and
yeah,
nanotech and the
yeah,
integration, we'll say, into greater consciousness.
yeah,
To recap it quickly and concisely.
yeah,
But that's what your sessions were, and you have hours of video on YouTube about it.
yeah.
Um, if you want to
Starting,
look at those,
it
want to look at it.
started out like with these two fractions, these two
Yeah.
factions who
Yep.
were at odds
Yeah.
about it, and then that became, well, what's that? What is that all about?
Right.
What are they at odds about? Who's on what side, and what are they about? What are they
Right.
about? And then it just unfolded in this you know big agenda.
Right.
And um, and it's just another one of those things where I look back at it now, and my feelings, I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
Um, I'm glad I published it, and uh, it's part of my work,
Yeah.
to do that. So I don't need glorification or uh, praise
Right.
or even criticism. You know, it isn't about any of that stuff. It ain't
Yeah.
about criticizing me or any of that. It's just, in my opinion, an important piece of my work that needed to go out.
Right.
To where if I get hit by a bus tomorrow and I get killed,
Right.
um, in my life's review, you know, hopefully I'll say, glad I put that out.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was
Well,
did good.
it's
No, it did good on that.
it's helped me piece things together. You have these ideas as you're trying to process a lot of it's just these intuitive signals and these things you're looking into in your search. And that was like a big missing link for me coming in. Whether, and I mean no disrespect, whether the data is valid or not, sometimes that doesn't even matter. It's the
Right.
lessons you learn through the thought process you go through with that. And it was very valuable for me working through um, trying to understand really a lot of things going on in the world and around me.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause that's really what that was about,
Yeah.
and what came through in those sessions was what's coming in the world,
Yeah.
what the world is turning into, and some of the players involved, and um, that was probably one of the more interesting parts of that whole series of sessions
Yeah.
was really tuning into people who don't live in our society.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even look at our society.
Right.
They're in their own world,
Right.
and what that was like, and it was really fascinating. Uh, and with this real, with like, they don't even they wouldn't even tarnish their awareness with looking down at
Right.
all of our nonsense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
they uh, an environment was created for these people to not do that, not tarnish their minds,
Right.
to be um, to become what they're trying to become,
Yeah.
and to get into the environment and become that. You know,
Yeah.
and then so then on the peripheral, yeah, they're watching. And they're studying and all that kind of stuff, but inside that environment, they live it,
Yeah.
living it. And that was really something, man. That was a real eye opener. I learned a lot of stuff in
Mm-hmm.
that session. um it
I
was a
believe there's a
real
DARPA
awakening.
experiment. There's a DARPA experiment that is eerily similar, where they were linking, I think, like 500 mines or something. I can't. It's hard to find stuff on it now. Um,
Yeah,
but there was something out there. I'm not saying they're one and the same, but it's when you start really doing some digging into neurobiology, and what the advanced research is saying from credible people, um, it matches up to some of the possibilities of the data that you brought back. It's not science fiction. It's being explored, if not done, right now.
yeah, uh, absolutely. And so yeah, yeah, it was one of those things. Like back in 2018 when I did those sessions, I don't think the smart city was even in my vocabulary at
Yeah.
the time. I don't think I'd ever even heard of anything like that.
Right.
I didn't say that in the sessions. I didn't
No.
have that kind of vocabulary in my mind. Um, but living in an environment like that, or being in the mindset of being in an environment like that, uh, was was part of the sensation of those sessions.
Right.
And so now, 5 years later, and it's like smart city. We have Chat GPT is available now. We got it's
Right.
all available, and um, it's like kind of like the fear factor thing. It's
Mhm.
like it was perceived, and I perceived it and dealt with it already.
Right.
And so seeing it now, coming at us, it's like, my reaction to it is way different
Right.
than what it would have been if I didn't do those sessions.
Right.
I would have been bewildered, like, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on, man? This ain't gonna happen. That
Right.
probably would have been my main response. That shit ain't gonna happen, man.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It's science fiction. It's right out of a science fiction movie when you look at it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
so fascinating and fantastic,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And so yeah, it's more along the lines of having experienced it and now seeing it coming, and being from a very different perspective of it. It's
Right.
like I say, it's just like remembering the future, you know.
Right.
And it's just like you're just kind of okay with it,
Yeah.
because you have a better understanding of it.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, you can, whatever, regardless of what your emotional reaction is to it.
Right.
Um, that I kind of cue that a lot in my sessions.
Mhm.
I'll be in a session, all of a sudden, oh man, I'm getting upset about this. So I got to tell myself, remove myself from the emotional
Right.
reaction
Yeah.
and just go here, you know? And because I want to go there,
Hmm.
I want to comprehend something, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I love about remote viewing is I get into a state of comprehension that I'm normally not in. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yep.
And then come out of it, and I have a better comprehension of the world, what's
Yeah.
going on in the world.
You get so many neat perspectives from a variety of perspectives to learn.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's like, um, just a better comprehension of what's going on, and
So,
not feeling so in denial or
right.
normalcy bias or wishing it wasn't happening or bury my head in the sand or something like that.
Which is an immediate emotional reaction to something that's happening that you weren't expecting right in front of you. Right.
Yeah,
And the other piece, though, I think, as this is rolling out, I sometimes wonder if it's just going to be a gradual assimilation by choice. And we're getting into some woo here, friends, a little bit. But I encourage you to look at Edward's work and look at some of the other stuff that's out there. We're going to speak, I think, on woo terms here just for the sake of time. But there's a lot behind this, in looking at, because Edward's session is probably one of the scariest ways to end a session. But you said there was a signal that went out around the entire planet, right? And immediately the entire consciousness of the planet changed.
that's right.
That
Yeah,
that's
I
how it
kind of
ended.
forgot about that. So you just mentioned that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't.
yeah,
That stuck with
yeah.
me.
That's right.
Um,
The event horizon element there,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like flipping a switch or sending a
uh-huh.
signal. And is that how it ended? That was the end of the sessions.
I believe that's how you ended.
That
Yeah,
that
that's how
would
you
be a
ended it.
that would be a pretty good ending.
Yeah, it
That'd
sure
be,
was.
um, yeah, that's kind of weird to even think about right now. I haven't
Yeah.
really thought about that session in a long time. Um, it's just scary thought even to me
It,
now.
it can, I think it can be because, and I want to lead us in this direction in a minute, but I think it can be because we're of a different generation, our mind, and we're right in between here and especially because of the work that we do and the spiritual journeys that we've been on, we're free, independent thinkers, or at least we think we are. We try to be. And the thought of surrendering or having it taken over um, is not something that we want to give up. But for, I think, some of this, I mean, Elon Musk says most people are cyborgs already. Your phone is an extension of your thinking. It's just not in your brain yet. But you want to know something, you want to think about something, you remember something, your memory's in your phone, and you rely on that now.
Yep.
So society's moving in that direction. And I think about this a lot. Um, I often wonder if we could go into the future 50 years, 100 years. We may go there and say, wow, this looks great. It's a peaceful society. They figured everything out. How'd they get here? It's the people like us who are resistant to it. And I'm not saying do it, don't do it. I'm just trying to look at all possibilities here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on AI and where it might be going in terms of humanity?
Well, I'll say this, like you mentioned the phone, like Elon Musk said,
Yeah.
we got the phone already. We can put the phone down.
Yep.
It may be like, oh, I want to go and check this, but you can say no.
Yeah.
I'm turning the computer off. I'm turning the TV off. I'm turning the internet off. I'm putting my phone, turning my phone off,
Correct.
and I'm going to do that. But if you get something implanted, you're giving that part up,
Hmm.
and that is very concerning to me. But my feelings about AI is, um, like I say, let me show something here real quick. Uh, okay, you see, I got the yin yang sign.
Yep.
Okay, and that sign means a lot to me. And I look at, or I try to look at these big situations, these big questions through that.
Hmm.
And because I'm pro human and I'm pro AI.
Right.
And um, I kind of jokingly say, I got, half of my robe is white and half of my robe is black,
Yeah.
priest and a magician,
Right. Right. Right.
or, I'll see myself as like a priest of the temple of equilibrium, because
Mhm.
that's where I want to be, right
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
And then you can monitor, as you go into the dark. So you go as you get fluffy
Yep.
head, too lightheaded, you uh, play it that way. And I look at AI through that lens as well, because um, the in my opinion, AI is the culmination of the human desire to store all of our knowledge
Yeah.
somewhere and have access to it all instantly, you know. And that's how I see AI.
Hmm.
And so I would love to have a robot like a Mr. Data,
Yeah.
and sit and I would talk all day long, you
Right.
know, um, because they have the culmination of human knowledge
Right.
and
Everything.
endeavors, and that's what it's, in my opinion, that's what it's designed for.
Hmm.
We get all these crazy things about, oh, they want to kill us. It's this, it's the devil. It's,
Right. Right.
entities coming in from
Skynet and all
another,
that. Right.
you know, um, and all those kinds of things. But the way I look at it is, if what is required to have a relationship with AI, because it's here,
Hmm.
humans are here,
Right.
so we're going to live together unless something happens where the electricity goes out.
Right.
Then it's just us again, But while there's electricity, we're both here,
Yeah.
and in an equilibrium state. um, you're not too much AI and you're not too much human.
Yeah.
You find the balance between the two. And in that balance, it's a great tool. It's
Yeah.
the greatest tool. It's been the endeavor of human ingenuity since the beginning.
Yeah.
And what a great friend that would be.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
that could be,
Yeah.
as long as we got that balance, that when the two are together, it's that yin yang symbol.
Right.
You're not too pro human, you're not too pro AI, you're not anti human, you're not anti AI. You
Right.
see the relationship, and the two can coexist, and
Yes.
then you're learning from the AI is learning from you, and it's just it's just very fast paced progression, you
Right.
know, and um, and in that, uh, I'm very pro AI. It doesn't scare me, you know,
Right.
um, as long as we have someone who's a leading voice, that we have to maintain this level of balance,
Yeah.
because media and people's ideas and stuff have shown us what it would look like out of balance. Terminator
Right.
is This is what it looks like out of balance,
Right.
you know, um, and other examples like that, So it's kind of like, don't let this happen, you know,
Yeah.
or like George Orwell's 1984 was like, here, don't let this happen,
Right.
kind of happening, but at least it was
Yeah.
like him saying, hey, don't let this happen, you
Right. As
know,
a warning.
and but that's how I see it. I see it as a the you know the the companion
Hmm.
that a the human mind has always wanted, and then created.
And
You
in a
know,
lot of ways, I think AI is a reflection of ourselves. I mean, that's what it's learning from,
totally,
right? And when you see
hundred
these
percent.
bots go out on Twitter and then they become angry and start saying all these horrible things and they have to shut them down, I
Yeah,
think that speaks volumes as to the human collective consciousness, not even the collective
yeah,
unconscious, it's just a collective consciousness
totally,
in how we treat each other and how we view the world. That AI mirrors us. And if we get Skynet, it's because we are Skynet in a lot of ways.
totally.
Um,
Yeah,
and now
yeah,
looking back to your letter after P sessions, um, and looking at some of the research that's out there and some of the fears that are out there, talking about this nanotech and things like Neuralink and linking up the brains. I mean, that's a very real possibility. What do you think the
yeah,
consequences are of a like? Because there's a guy by the name of James Giordano. He's a one of the leading neurobiologists. He says, and there's a great video. I sent it to you years ago. Um, it's 2018. He's at West Point speaking to cadets, and he's saying the mind is the new battlefield. And he holds up a pen and he says, I could put enough nanotech on the tip of this pen to infect everyone in this room that has the ability to read and write into the brain. It's 2018 when he's doing this.
yeah.
What do you think the consequences are as it might mirror some of your data if something like that were to happen right now?
Well, I think it falls into the scenario like you were just talking about before. You say you look 50 years into the future
Right.
and you say, oh man, look at that. They figured it out.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like we're in the bloody birthing. It's
Yep.
like when a woman has a child, it's a bloody, disgusting, painful mess.
Yeah.
There's fluids and weird body things coming out, crying and
Right.
blood and pain. And it's like, my sense is that could be the where we are now. We're in
Right.
the painful birthing process,
Yeah.
and so like what you're saying with that guy in the military thing, to me, when I hear you say that, that person dips into the anti-human category.
Right.
He's off balance. The balance is gone. Now
Yeah.
they're anti-human,
Right.
and
Well, he's just
and
talking about the tech. He's not promoting it or denying. He's just saying it's out there. But I understand what you're saying.
you get my
Yeah.
point.
Yes.
Um, it kind of becomes more easy to see with some of these people
Yeah.
who are talking about these things.
Right.
Are they anti-human? Are they pro-human?
Right.
Pro-AI, anti-AI? And they're out of balance.
Yeah.
They're way out of balance. And so, at some point, I would say this is what I have confidence in, that um, if it goes too far down into the dark or
Right.
too high up into the light, it's always going to, at some point, it's going to seek equilibrium at
Yes.
some point.
Yeah.
And right now, in my opinion, we're way out of balance. I
Yeah.
mean, where it's just swinging, it's maddening. There's no balance right now, but at some point, a balance will be achieved
Hmm.
by nature itself. One way, and I don't care how powerful Klaus Schwab or Bill Gates.
Right.
They're just they think they have all the power.
Right. There are bigger forces
Um,
at play.
way bigger, man. So that equilibrium is going to be reestablished when we're in the we're in a big flux here. So it's kind of hard to imagine even. But I am of the opinion that it will be, and and if we still have electricity and we still have humans, um, in that scenario, I hope that the balance will be there,
Yeah.
and that relationship will be there. And our memories we have terrible memories.
Yep.
Our memories are flawed. Why do you think we invented? Why do you think we put hundreds and hundreds of years of ingenuity and application of ideas to develop artificial intelligence? Because
Yeah.
we have terrible memories.
Hmm.
And so to be able to access all of our ingenuity at our fingertips has been a very long-term goal for humanity. And I know people are going to say, no, it's the aliens that are doing it, and this and
Right.
that. And it's like, okay, you can speculate all that. I look at it in terms of the human, uh, the goal of the human creature
Right.
from hunting and gathering uh, into more high level thinking. You know, we're brilliant. We're a brilliant species, man. I mean,
Right.
you wouldn't know it if you watch YouTube a lot, or the news. You think, oh boy,
Yeah.
it's easy to go anti-human,
Hmm.
because that's who is putting that out there.
Right.
And it's easy to get sucked into that. Uh, but when I look at the human as a creature on Earth, what I see is the most brilliant mofo the planet has seen.
Right.
Because we've done things that no other creature on this planet has done,
Right.
for better or for worse. In a lot of ways, it's been worse. In a lot of ways, it's been better. But again, that's that equilibrium. You know, but the human says, uh, "I'm on. I got to get across this river, man. I got to get over there."
Right.
You know, how am I going to do that? Well, I if I chop that tree down, or if I take this log and I hollow it out,
Mhm.
I can float. I
Yeah.
mean, just it's endless, man. It's endless.
Yeah.
We're freaking brilliant, genius creatures, man. Genius, freaking genius.
It's fascinating when you think of it that way. And you've talked a lot about, this natural process and the forces of nature. And it gets me thinking about, I'm thinking of those societies that are so in balance and so in tune with nature. I'm thinking of the work that you do. I'm thinking of the signals that you have coming in, right? Like we talked about in our last podcast, your ominous feeling signal. You get these intuitive things that drive you. But I also look at AI and the ability in this, scenario that we're talking about, this what some would look at as an apocalyptic scenario, and I'm not trying to sell that. You're getting signals as well, right? That I think mimic what an intuitive signal might feel like or might be able to do or access. Like you do remote viewing to go access information. You have
Yeah,
something in your head to go access information. What's
that's correct.
what's the difference in your opinion? Or on some level, is it possible that it's one and the same, that this is a natural part of evolution?
Well, that's a great question. My opinion on that
Mm-hmm.
would be somewhere along the lines of um, where we get our um, information from is uh, from an as of yet unknown
Right.
source, whereas the AI is getting its information from us,
Mm.
specifically from us. And then it can be programmed to algorithm itself or whatever, and then
Right.
come up with different scenarios or whatever.
Right.
But ultimately, it wouldn't do that if we didn't feed it that. So
Right.
it's getting everything from us. Uh, I would say unless or until they have an AI that can read uh, CERN or
Mm-hmm.
something like the Xenon One.
Right.
That was another one.
There's
Xenon
another
One. That
target.
was an
Yep.
oh god, I love that one,
Yeah.
man.
That was a good
Um,
conversation.
uh, that can take that data and maybe figure out how to do that itself. And
Seek its
now,
own independent experiences
yeah,
beyond what's the confines of the human consciousness, right?
so, yeah, along those lines, yeah. If that is possible, um, then that would be kind of something else. But we uh, with our experience with remote viewing or intuitive things or psychic things or whatever, where we are getting information that we should not have
Right.
otherwise. Not that it's forbidden, but
Right.
you shouldn't know what the hell's going on.
We can't readily access those things.
Yeah. How do you know what's going on in that building 3,000 miles away? It's
Right.
impossible. You can't know that.
Right.
But that's what remote viewing is.
Right.
So we have uh, what what I call in my personal research in our brain. I theorize in the brainstem and the medulla oblongata region, a selector mechanism and an attractor mechanism. These are elements of the deep brainstem uh, that somehow have the ability to select. That's why I call it the selector mechanism.
Right.
Somehow have the ability to select ranges of time and space, specific ranges of time and space. Because I don't call it a target anymore. I mean, I'll call it a target as a lazy term because it's a
Right.
lazy term. It's not a
Right.
target. It's a range of time and space. That's what it
Right.
actually is, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so somewhere in the deep brain, I theorize that we have a selective mechanism that can select specific ranges of time and space in whatever state it exists in. It doesn't exist. It exists in a state. I theorize, I theorize a state of gravitational radiation or a gravitational wave. They're interchangeable. That's my theory of the state that it might exist in. Because you can't say that Abraham Lincoln's speech in 1864 for a remote viewer to remote view that, the remote viewing the same, that exists in the same state as the room they're sitting in it in that moment. They're two
Right.
different states. You can't say that they are. They're
Right.
two different states. And so the human, as opposed to the AI, has somehow, some way, a selector mechanism that can select specific ranges of time and space. And then and then there's a tractor mechanism to pull it into other parts of the brain, like the dentate gyrus,
Right.
the CA2 and 3 regions of the brain, where uh, once I had come up with a notion of an attractor mechanism that was remote viewing into different parts of my brain, I went and I looked those parts of my brain up, and in the CA3 region, they have what they call attractor dynamics, and that's
Wow.
exactly the region I was
Yeah.
perceiving where I had an attractor mechanism. So I was like,
Right.
yes,
Yes.
confirmation, man, confirmation. But
Right.
meaning that it's being pulled into other parts of the brain. It's being
Right.
there's an attractor like like a magnet would pull
Hmm.
metal to itself or whatever, and then begin the decoding process to go from that state into uh, into the neurons of the brain, into the pyramidal neurons, and begin to go through a process of association as it's being decoded, go through process of reassociation into things
Right.
that we can comprehend based on what we have in our memories.
Right.
I don't know how an AI would do that. I just don't know how a computer would be able to do that, because we, that's my theory.
Right. Right.
That doesn't mean I know that's how it works. That's my theory, you know.
Right.
So I don't know how a computer would be able to do something like that. You know? So it unless somebody else, presents different information, an AI only works because a human has programmed it to work,
Correct.
and then the human has programmed it to run algorithms within itself and come up with scenarios based on associations within itself. you know. But can it do anything outside of itself? I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I that's the difference. That's why like if I look at us versus AI, like in my, that thing, the AI would need us just as much as we would need it. You
Right.
know, it would say, I need you to give me intuitive information. And
Yeah.
we might say, I need you because my memory is terrible. We have terrible memories. You know, we have terrible memories.
Right.
We
Right.
got thousands of years of information, and I can only store a little bit of it in my head, you know,
Yeah. I
and
can't
paper
remember someone's name
burns.
2 seconds after they tell it to me. So
That's what I'm talking about, man. And
yeah.
books, paper burns. They burned down
Yep.
the Alexandria
Yep.
Library. What a loss of knowledge that was, man. Set the
Yeah.
world back a long time.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts on it, you know.
Fascinating. And I know you've done a lot of that work through remote viewing, exploring your own mind and where's this information coming from. For those,
Mhm.
that haven't watched Edward do what he does, this is not something he just read somewhere one day or just made up. I mean, this is hours worth of remote viewing practice, and then I'm sure reflection and thought to get to this point. So circling back just to kind of where we started with this conversation, I mean, the world is changing, humanity is changing, society is changing. As Edward said, right now we might be in the labor of the birth pains of moving into something new. My opinion is it's really what you make of it, your perspective. And if you listen to our last podcast talking about dealing with that fear and disciplining your mind, I think that's crucial because going through transition is hard and it can be ugly. Um, Edward, I want to kick it to you for just final thoughts on, kind of what we talked about and where you think the world might be going.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why these kinds of conversations are so great to have is because you can go from the world's a scary place to let's explore this, and maybe,
Right.
um, in a way that maybe an individual may not do on their own or whatever in their own
Yeah.
mind. And so the sharing of ideas like this, uh, in my opinion, um, can alleviate a lot of the anxiety of the
Yeah.
changing, ever accelerating change that we're going through, and explore some different perspectives, which is really really vitally needed, because it's
Yeah.
like in the equilibrium, these are crazy horrible times, and then there are unbelievably amazing times all
Right.
at the same
At the
time.
same time. Yep. You're
And it's
right.
just like a frickin' nuclear explode, like being in the middle of a nuclear explosion, you
Yeah.
know, uh, or in the cell when the cell splits,
Yep. Yep.
and it's like, holy crap, man.
Yeah. It's miraculous
Um,
to watch.
yeah, yeah. And in that, yeah, that's why we're all living. That's why we're here, It's like, okay, if we chose to be here, we chose to come in now, because this is an amazing time to
Yeah.
be here, man.
All the things that are
Amazing
happening
time.
right now, you really have to
Yeah,
scratch your head and it's like, wow,
yeah,
I am here now at this point in time with all of these things happening.
yeah,
That's pretty special. Even
yeah.
when it's hard,
Oh
it's
man, it's hard. It's
it's
hard to
pretty
stay in
special.
that. It's hard to stay in that, because then we see what's going
Yep.
on. It's like, oh God,
Yeah.
it's terrible,
Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
lot of it is. A lot of it is, you know.
Yeah. Well, great points, Edward. A lot to think about as always. You and I, we have these conversations semi regularly, and I think they continue to evolve, which is great because I know we revisit some of the same themes and the things we talk about, but it's never the same because as we gain more experience, we're able to add to this ongoing discussion we've been having for several years now, which I love because it helps me to navigate it. And for those of you that are listening or watching, I'd love to know your thoughts and how has things changed for you as we go through this, because we look at this scary thing, AI, but it has the potential to be something beautiful and amazing and incredible as well. And you hear all these dogmatic voices saying, "No, no, it's bad. It's this organization. It's that organization. It's going to control your mind." Step out of that and make your own opinion. Look at all the possible elements you can and
I
make your own
think it was.
opinion.
I think it was in the cute. Oops, I almost said it. I almost
The
said it.
letter after P.
I think it was in that session where it was like, oh, it's beautiful and it's terrifying all at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And it ain't. It's like for anybody, it ain't easy, man. This is a very difficult time to live.
Right.
Um, but it's history, man. We're living.
Yeah.
We're making it history.
There's a lot to be learned right now. It's like a crash course here, I think, that we're that we're I'll say gifted with this experience that we have. So Edward, it's been a great discussion as always with you. I look forward to future discussions. We're going to as we work through, future podcasts, we're going to be taking the work that all the viewers do, and sometimes they'll get this nugget of a thread that's just a really cool piece of data, but given the platform with the full debrief, they have to keep it moving. So now we have the opportunity to go back and explore that one piece or that multiple pieces or the threads that we see in things and really just do these deep dives. So for those of you watching, if there's that piece out there or a session out there or comment that was made you'd like us to explore, please let us know. For those of you that are new, you can find us at futureforecastinggroup.com. So big thank you to Edward. Big thank you to everybody behind the scenes who makes this possible as well. It's been a great journey so far. And I'm Dennis Nappi II. Thanks for watching.